Hey you guys, it's Cami with Coast DIY, and I am here to do a tutorial for your wrap bracelet. You have instructions in your kit. They're gonna look similar to this. Let me see if I can get these out. They'll look a little, these are older, so they'll look similar to these. I haven't printed the newest version of them. Hopefully. Hang on just a second. Okay, I got them out. So they'll look similar to this, and there are step-by-step instructions, but I think it's gonna be a little easier if I do a video, and then you can reference the video and the written instructions. And then I can talk through some tips and tricks. When we did it in the shop, I found that some people had some questions, and I think I can address the questions in the video, and then that'll be easier. Once I get started, I will do a couple of things in the beginning, and then I'll just do a focused video that you can watch and reference back and forth. And it's really the kind of the start, the motion of the wrap, which it's the same motion all the way through, and then how to end the bracelet. That are the key things. So this is when you look at the picture, this bracelet is this bracelet. I've had this bracelet for, no lie, 6 years. So you can see I need to fix it. I wear this bracelet a lot. And it hasn't broken yet. I mean, it literally hasn't broken yet. So I can tell you, just, they're good. Once you get them, even though it looks crazy, when you saw it just then, it still looks good on. So definitely a good piece to have. But I'm gonna do a different color. So I will fix this later. I'm gonna be doing the distressed gray, and I'll probably be doing a color that I don't have a lot of, because then I think it'll be easier. Because these are a marble green to go with the gray. In your kit, let me tell you what'll be in your kit. You're gonna have your cord, your leather cord. So a leather cord. You're gonna have a needle. Don't lose your needle. See that? This is a beading needle. You're gonna, let me see if I can get it so you can see it. Don't lose this, okay? It is specially made to go through these beads. And you're gonna have the cord with the thread. This thread, you're gonna wanna keep that too, because if for some reason it breaks, which as you can see, may not break, or if you start going and you realize, generally as you do this, you'll get better at it, you wanna start over again, you've got plenty. This thread could make probably 20 bracelets, probably more. You're gonna have your beads. You're gonna have seed beads, tiny, tiny beads. You're gonna have way more than you need, but it's easier than me counting them. And then you're gonna have, in some of them, you're gonna have a sand dollar. Some of them you won't. It'll be identified. That's gonna be for a specific color palette that you'll have the sand dollar. And then for the rest of them, you're gonna have a, it's like a button. It's like a button. And they're gonna have a little bit different look. Some have hearts on them, some don't. And that's what you're gonna have in your kit. Now, what you're gonna need is you're gonna need scissors. And if you have a clipboard, I recommend grabbing the clipboard, which I have here. If you don't have a clipboard, I recommend grabbing some tape, and I'll show you why. So the first thing you're gonna do is take your cord, pull that out. It's long. It's gonna be more than you need. I did a 3 wrap with mine. If you have a larger wrist, you might get 2. If you have a really, really, really tiny wrist, you might get 4. But you're going to put it in half. So meet the ends. Put it in half, and then on the half that's bent over, you're just going to tie a simple knot. 1 turn. And that knot, see, this is my original. You want to make sure that that knot is going to be big enough to fit over the button like that. Okay. I could make it a little smaller, but I find that it's, you don't want it so small that you're fighting with it. And I'm gonna pull it tight. The leather is pretty good. Okay. Then what I like to do, and this is where the clipboard comes in handy, you're going to clip it to the clipboard. And then I need to get tape. You're gonna tape this end down like this. Oh, please. Okay, so the only tape I could find is this metal tape from the laser. It doesn't matter, you just want something that's gonna hold this down. Notice that I'm separating the cords just a little bit, and I'm gonna come pretty far down on the clipboard. If you don't have a clipboard, you could do like a piece of cardboard and tape both ends. So you want something that's gonna be pretty stiff. Notice that this is a little flexible because I'm gonna be weaving in and out of it, okay? It's a little bit flexible. And then clipped at the top, pinned at the bottom. Okay, that way you've got a little bit of flexibility there, and that way you're not going to be fighting with the piece. Your beads will probably be open. I'll open my beads. Now your beads have, the square beads have 2 holes in them. You have a few more than you need, but you have enough to go, well, as far as I went, like even more than I went on mine. You won't probably be able to see it. Maybe there's 2 holes in them. And the way you're gonna go through it is, let me see, I think this is where the pictures are probably pretty good. You're gonna go through the top of the hole and then back through the bottom of the hole around the leather. But before you do that, what I like to do is start with the seed beads. And the reason I like to start with that is I like to let the seed beads kind of help the leather gradually get wider from the knot out to the size of the square beads. Now I have to find I had set aside some specific seed beads for myself for this project. I think I will grab these and then I'll replace these. These are blue and silver. I just use the silver ones. And you can choose. So in your kit, I've put in seed beads that are 1 or 2 colors, and that will complement the color of your squares. Okay. So I like to do 1, 2, and then 3 of the seed beads. Now, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take a long piece of the thread and cut it. Now, how long of the thread do you want to cut? That is not a precise answer. Get better scissors than I have. But that's going to be dependent on how comfortable you are working with a long piece of thread. With the thread, it's going to be kind of up and down like that. And if that is a movement that's difficult for you, you might go with a piece like I've got. I didn't go too long so that I could show you. So kind of like that. And then you'll just have to start new pieces a couple of times. So you end them and start them. And that's fine. The longer you go, the fewer times you have to start and stop the thread. So what I've done is I'm centering it. Well, I am trying to center it. So what I've done is I've got the ends together wrapped around the cord. I've chosen to use the cord on the right. Not that that's that big of a deal, you just need one side. So I've got it on the right. And I'm gonna tie a knot. Just trying to get it centered. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just centered. And I'm gonna tie it once and then tie it twice. So I know it's on there. Now in your kit, you're gonna also have jewelry glue. This stuff is really good for sealing the knots on your thread. It's really smelly, so just know that. I don't think you need to do it when you do the knots like this. I think it's more important at the end of the thread. The beginning, it's not that important. And I say to put it on the left cord on the instructions. And true to form with my ADD, I put it on the right in the video. So follow the written instructions, go left. I'm trying to even these up. I have the worst scissors out here. And then I'm going to thread this on this beading needle. And be careful with your beading needle. Do you see how flexible it is? And this eye of this beading needle will squish. That's the whole thing about the beading needle. It will go right through the beads very easily because it will flatten down. Okay, now to make me follow the same instructions that are written, since I messed up and put mine on the right, I'm gonna flip my cord over. So now that my knot is on the left. So don't let that mess you up, sorry about that. So now my knot is on the left, just like the written instructions. And I can show you. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just pull my tape up and straighten out my cords. And over the course of making your bracelet, you're going to move your leather across your clipboard or your cardboard or whatever you've used. This will be your work surface. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure I follow my instructions really well. With a figure 8 motion, you're going to wrap the thread in and out of the 2 cords and secure your first bead. Now this is where I I don't actually show you the seed beads on the first part. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna grab a seed bead with my needle. Now, I'm going to tell you this part. When you first start to do this, everything is going to be loosey-goosey, okay? It's going to be frustrating, especially when this is the first time you've done this. Your leather's going to feel like it's moving no matter how much you tie it down, tape it down. It's going to feel like you have no control. That is normal, okay? So don't panic. I'm going to do this part. I'm gonna move the camera. That way I can show you close up what I'm doing, because you don't need to see my face. All right, so I'm gonna switch the view. Okay, so now we have a closer view and you can see I've got everything on here. I've got my one bead on my thread. So I've got my knot here, my one bead. I'm trying to show you, there you go, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around this cord like this. Well, this is where things get a little loosey-goosey for just a second, because I want that bead to stay kind of in the middle there. Right? I'm gonna come around and it's giving me a little hard time because it wants to move, but that's okay. And I'm gonna come up. It's like a figure eight around. I'm coming back up through the middle. So that my string is wrapped around that right side. See that? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back through that seed bead. And that's gonna help stabilize it. And I'm going over let's see, I went to, up, yep, I'm going over. I just had to kind of think of the direction. And again, I'm having to hold this seed bead. Once we get going, it won't be this difficult. It's a little hard to go back to the little tiny beads twice, but that's okay. I'm holding the seed bead. Okay, and I've pulled everything tight, and I'm gonna shimmy and kind of get that right in the middle there as best I can. Now my thread came unthreaded on my needle in that whole exchange, so I'm gonna rethread real quick. Okay, so now we want to do 2 beads. So off camera here, I'm going to grab 2 beads onto my needle. My dogs are getting ready to fuss, so I may have to pause, but we'll see. Okay, so I have 2 beads on here. And if you remember, I just came over this way, right? So now I'm going to go under here, because we're doing figure eights, under the left, and back up through the middle. But what I want is I want these beads in the middle, so I'm going to kind of bring the beads with me, right? Oops. Yep, okay. They stayed. I'm gonna hold them with my hand. Oops. I keep losing my thread. I don't know. I think it's because I'm looking through the camera and I'm not paying attention to the thread. But that's okay. I can rethread it. Okay, see how we are there? Let me rethread again real quick. Sorry, I've got to rethread. I can't see the needle and the camera at the same time. It's a little difficult. Okay. All right. Oops. So, got the two there. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go over. And I'm going to bring my thread back up. Notice that my beads are losing their space. That's okay. But see how they kind of come back? Sorry, the dog is drinking water. I'm going to go through my beads. Part where again I told you it was all a little loosey-goosey until they get locked in. I go through these two beads, but I want to come over. Okay, see how I'm doing that? I'm just making a figure 8. Daggone it. And I keep, because I'm holding these beads so tight, that's why I'm pulling my thread out of the needle. That's okay. Fine. There we go. All right, and so see if I push that up, it's gonna look like that. Now, let me show you a square bead. See how wide that is? I wanna do one more seed bead to get this leather to be right where I want it to be. I'm pretty sure 3 is where I want it to be. So let me rethread again. I just keep pulling it out of the needle. You could knot it, but I find it's better not to knot it, as frustrating as I'm at making this process. Okay, so again, we've gone over. So now we're gonna come back under here and back up through. Okay, so see? There you go. And see how tight that is? Once it's pulled tight, they're gonna stay. It's just that when I let it loose to get the next bead on, things get a little crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and actually do the next part of the figure 8 before I grab my beads. Under and up. Get it wrapped around that right. Get it wrapped over there pretty tight. And I'm gonna grab 3 beads. Sorry, you can't see me grab the beads off camera. Well, you can. I do that. And I need one more silver one. Here we go. Okay. So I've got 3. And then I'm going to come back down. So I've done something here. See that? Something's not right there. And I'm not gonna keep going. I'm gonna stop for a second and see why. Oh, because I think the beads need to be, yep, that's why. I should have threaded the beads first. That's why. No big deal. There we go. I needed to put the beads on there. Now I can come back. And I'm gonna go through the beads. I'm having to hold it up a little bit. These are harder than the rest of it. Once you get it going, you'll be okay. Plus, you're not doing it on camera. Did I get all 3? Okay. All right, I got all 3, and I want to come up. So I'm going to grab this needle. There we go. Yay! And just pull it, let them all gently pull. And I kind of push them up with my nail. Yay! All right, there's your first 3. And then this should be about the same width as that. Perfect. So now you're going to need to know which side has the holes. So it's like that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to thread on your squares. And you're gonna come under. Through the square, top. And then over. Now, you can, if you want a lot of stability, you could go back and forth through each hole where you go in and then back, and then in and then back. I don't do that. What I do is in and then I go back through the bottom hole. It's faster, for one thing. But I don't think the other's necessary. Except for every now and then. Sorry, it's hard to see the holes. See how that looks? I'm going under this one, through the hole, and over this one. These are so much easier than the seed beads, I promise you, once you get past that first part. And then all I'm doing is just tightening it down. Then you do it again. This is not a fast project, but it is definitely, It can be very relaxing if you're watching like a movie, listening to some music. Oh, notice that I accidentally lost the threading. Get this pulled tight and then I'll rethread my thread. But anyway, back to the rethreading on the beads. So I don't rethread back through every hole like we did in the seed beads for every bead. Every now and then though, I will do one of these squares just to add a little bit of stability. That is a choice that you can make. Sorry, it's hard for me to see through the camera. And I'll keep grabbing that thread. So I'm lifting up, I'm going under, through, and then over. Under, through, over. Then I like to hold down the bead just so it doesn't get too wobbly. And then I always am, I'm just kind of pushing up and keeping everything flat. That's the, you know, I chose these square beads because I really like the look of the flat bead. So you want to make sure they stay flat. So you can see this, the seed beads have stayed in position. So far so good. I'm going to do one more talking. So we ended this over. So we're going to come around and go under. I just kind of pulled it under, through the top, and then over. And then under, through the bottom, and over. And notice how as you do it, you'll get much more comfortable. Things will get much more even. You know, one thing you can do is you could even add, I'll do this now actually to show you. Let me get a few out. You could, just for decorative purposes, add a row of seed beads in the middle of your bracelet. So you could do, I'm going to go ahead and thread the beads. Left-handed. Trying to get them left-handed. Okay. So then you're going to continue your figure 8 pattern. You're going to go under, bring the beads with you. Bring the needle over and hold the beads in the middle. If the beads move, that's okay. See how that looks? Kind of cool. You might need a fourth now that I'm looking at it. Hang on. Looks like these silver ones are just a smidge smaller. You add a fourth. See if that makes it more even. Yeah. See, that keeps the line straighter. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do like I did up top. I'm going to go back through the seed beads to keep the angle right. You don't have to necessarily do this, but I think on the seed beads, they're a little more flimsy on the leathers. So I think it just keeps it sturdier. Let me spread this out a little so I can see. Whew. Hang on. I think I keep grabbing the thread. Sometimes it's easier to hold them and just yep. I'm gonna come under first. I need to get that under. I was having trouble. Okay. So if you saw what I did, I just went ahead and brought the whole needle under so that I could then thread them. I couldn't get a hold of it. So now what I've got to do is, when I'm doing this, I'm just kind of shaking the string so that I can get it tight. How cute is that, right? I do like putting seed beads in there. Oh, see what I did here? It's a good lesson. I pushed too hard. Right now, everything's still a little bit loose, so you don't want to shove the beads too far. You want that to stay flat. Okay, and now you just keep going. I am not gonna put you through watching me do an entire 2 feet of beads. That's insane. But I will get moving on this, and then when I get to the end, I'll bring this video back and I will show you how to finish off the bracelet. It will likely be daytime tomorrow when I do that, to be honest with you. So I am excited to show you that. And if you get frustrated trying to, do the motion where you go under, through, and over all in one motion, just come under, then go through, and then go over. And you'll get faster. Trying to get this thread to pull tight. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty. I like it. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so this is the point at which I need to get a new thread attached. So I have done this many beads. And so the first thing I want you guys to do is, let me see if I can back this up. There we go. You're gonna get your jewelry glue ready. So you're gonna take your cap here and carefully pop that in. You can throw this away and then put this cap on. There we go. This is a screw off lid, okay? Okay, now set that aside for just a second. Don't lose your needle. What you're gonna do is you're gonna tie this thread to whatever side you land on, okay? So So I'm actually going to tie it to this side. Actually, what I'm going to do, let me see if I've got enough thread. I'm going to thread it back on my needle. I'm going to come back through. So I ended on this side. I'm going to come back through on the same level of the bead. So I just came back through the bottom of the bead. I'm going to go under and I'm going to go through the bottom of the bead. Well, hang on. You might want to have a little more thread than I've got left. I should have not pushed myself this far to the end. Okay, so see how I ended up over? I'm going to go under. What I'm doing is trying to kind of lock this bead in a little bit. Under. You know what I can do? I'm going to show you a trick. Because my thread is so, let me back this out just, oh, that's as far out as it'll go. I'm going to go ahead and pre-thread my bead through under the wire, under the leather. I don't have any nails. I'm trying to grab that. There we go. Through the bead. And then over. So I don't have the thread on the needle right this second. I'm just putting the needle on through the bead. Well, don't be frustrated with it. Hang on just a second. Hold on, I'm getting caught up here. See? Don't get mad at it. Just kind of get yourself back into position. We're going to go over, through the bead, and under. Over, through the bead, and under. Okay? So I've set my needle in the right position. And now, because my thread is so short, I can go ahead and put the thread in the needle. I'm going to do them one at a time. And then I can pull it through. And the reason I'm doing this is it's going to lock that needle in place like we did the seed beads. You don't have to do this if you've gotten yourself in the same position with really short thread. But you may find it stabilizes your bracelet better. You also won't be working with a camera, so you will find this to be easier than I do. Okay, there's one thread through. Make sure, no, that's not through. Okay. Second thread through. And then once you got them through, just kind of, whoops, sorry. hold your bead like before, and then pull. There we go. Shoo. All right, I'm gonna set my needle. I like to clip it up at the top like that. Okay, so now let's get these tight. I'm gonna pull them one at a time. I'm gonna get this bead where I want it. See how it's a little loose right there? Just keep tugging. I'm not trying to break it, I'm just trying to. There we go. Okay. And now, whoop. There we go. So make sure these are all flat, right where you want them. And now what you're gonna do is you're gonna tie these threads to this side. I'm gonna slide one of them under. And then you're just gonna tie a knot. Kind of like you did at the beginning. A couple times. Excuse the dogs, they're outside roughhousing. That's my hound. Being a little extra. Again, this is easier if you're not looking in a camera. Okay, I'm gonna do this just a few extra times. Okay. All right. And now, you're going to take your glue, and my advice would be first, take a piece of scrap paper or something and squeeze out the glue just to see how fast it's going to come out. You don't need, oh, yep, see? You don't want a ton of glue on your piece. And I'm actually going to recommend grabbing a toothpick or something of the like. Let's see. Don't use your needle, but if you've got a toothpick, I'm just going to use this. A straight pin would work. I think I have some straight pins, so I may go get some and put some in the kits. So you probably will have one in your kit by the time I'm done with this. See how I'm just putting a tad bit of glue right on that knot? A little bit under the knot, a little bit over the knot. It's really about sealing that knot in, okay? Now this is gonna take a little bit to cure. So do not clip your, and then go ahead and you wanna wipe the glue off of your straight pin just a little bit. But do not clip these ends off yet until the very end Just set them to the side. Okay, leave those there. And then you're going to get yourself a new piece of thread. Again, just like at the beginning, get it as long as you're comfortable. Now that you know, you'll learn how to add a new piece and it won't be that difficult. And you're going to bring the ends together to get the middle. Okay. But you're going to bring the ends together like this. Go ahead and feed one end under like this. Do it on the opposite side where you just put the needle. Okay. And see how I'm doing it on this side? Not needle, knot, sorry, my words. And I'm gonna put another knot. This one you won't have to glue. You only glue the ones at the end. You don't need a lot of glue in your bracelet. Just for security, I find it's important to do the ones at the end. So I'm gonna double knot this one. And go ahead and, no matter what I do, I cannot get my ends even. Whew. I had better scissors. I could trim that off. And I'm gonna go ahead and thread my needle. Again, I'm working through the camera. Hang on. May not work through the camera so I can actually get it threaded. Okay, better. Okay. And then you just get started again. So you're gonna take your bead, and it doesn't matter at this point if you go up, down, or whichever way you go, because you're starting from scratch, right? If you can remember the process you did before, it will keep this pattern the same, right? So I honestly don't remember. I've been doing it this whole time. Under, I think I did under. And I've been just kind of setting my bead like this. Oh. And then dropping it in, pulling this through. I'm just gonna have to, I might tape these threads up just to get them out of my way for a little bit. And then under. The first one you do on a new strand will be a little wonky like in the beginning because your thread is not as stable. But that's okay. Once you get this down, you'll be okay. Under and then over. Don't let your bead flip. Kaya. Shh. Shh. Okay, and so then you're gonna just keep going. Just keep going like that. And you are good to go. So I'm going to go back into my time lapse. Okay, now I've gotten to a part where I'm going to show you my clipboard. I could keep going, but in the video, I need to move up my design. so that I can keep videoing. So I'm going to loosen this, and you can see it stays together. And what I'm gonna do is, on the clipboard it's easy, I'm just gonna feed this through here. And when I find a, I don't want to clip it right on a bead, I want to try to get it right on the leather. See how I've done that? Right in between a bead. And then I will just tape, I'm taping down at the bottom just like I did. Trying to leave this a little bit flexible, but not totally loose, because then you lose control. And now I can keep going. Okay. Okay, as you're making your bracelet, you're gonna want to, as you get pretty far out, make sure you're testing your length. So I'm gonna do probably, I'll do looks like I've got 2 on this one. So I've got 1 more length to go for a 3 wrap. So I will be back for that. With that now, this is a good time to talk about if your kit, if you've got one of these with the blues, your kit comes with a charm, a sand dollar charm. And I'm not going to put it on mine, but I will show you how to do it here. Anywhere you want along your design, let me show you. I've got it on my old one here. See how this one is on here? All you have to do, and they're real silver, so you're gonna see this one here is tarnished a little bit. So you just clean it with the tarnishing cloth. All you do is thread it on, okay? Nothing big, but I'm gonna loosen my leather, and I'll show you. I'm gonna feed it on. You can't see this off camera, but so I've fed it on. And then I will just continue to bead at this point. So let me turn this over so you can see it. Oh, this stand is on. So see how that's on there? You just thread it right on and then just continue to bead. And you can see in between these beads, there's plenty of room for a charm. And you just thread it right on there. Put it anywhere you want along the way. Any charms you've got at home, you can do that as well. So I'm going to get myself put back on here. Make sure I don't loosen up too much. I'm going to go ahead and shift myself up again while I'm at it. And tighten this down here. And I'm gonna get back to work. I gotta see where my, oh, here's my needle. So I'll do one bead right here in slow motion. So I'm gonna come under. I've been kind of using my nail because the needle's not sharp. Just been kind of using my, of course when I go on the camera I can't do it. Using my nail to grab it. Good grief. There we go. And then bead it. Now, I did run across one bead, just to let you know, that didn't have two holes. That's just that can happen, I guess. So just set that aside. So I thread one in. And then what I've been doing is coming under and go ahead and pulling this all the way through like that. And then threading across the bottom. And over. That seems to be a little bit better for the way that my fingers work. I did at one point have to stop. I had a little cramp in my hand. And see how this is not pulling tight like that? So just stop for a second and you may have to pull both strings separately. But you always want to make sure you're getting them tight like this before you move on to your next bead. And now I'm going to put you back into the fast mode. And I'm going to keep going till I get to my last, till I have 3 reps on my wrist. Another way you can know that for sure, you could measure your wrist, or if you're making it for somebody else, definitely get a measurement ahead of time. When I made the first bracelet, I don't make it, it's not super, super tight, but it's also not like a bangle. You need it to be, you don't want it to fall loosely off. You don't want it to fall off. So it needs to be snug on the wrist, might be the right word to use. But not like a bangle. Okay, so I'm going to put you into speed mode again. Okay, so I am coming to the end and we're going to finish off the piece. So I've just done my last square bead and I'm gonna go ahead and do a pass through back on the bottom. So I'm coming back up. I've already gone through the bottom, but I'm gonna go back through the bottom. I'm just kind of being careful not to snag the thread. If you snag it, just kind of go back, take your time. You want this to be tight. So this will help kind of lock this piece down. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our seed beads where we did them like this. We're going to go backwards. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1. You could do 4, 3, 2, 1 if you wanted to do that. I'm going to go around first. And then I'm going to thread the seed beads. I find it easier to just kind of do it on the board. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. And just like we did before, as hard as this is, we're going to come back and go back through these seed beads. So come back under. It's going to be a little wobbly. Use your finger to hold those seed beads in place while you pull the thread around. And then go back through. You want to go, see how this is coming under? I want to go over this time. This is going to help lock all this in place. See how that's kind of feels knotty right there? Just don't pull. Just loosen the thread gently. If you pull too tight, when it snags like that, it's going to create a knot. Okay, perfect. All right, do the same thing with 2. So I'm going to go back under. Get my needle under. Pull 2 beads. And then I'm going to go, this goes over, come back under. Notice I hold the bead just to stabilize them. And then I actually push this leather down so that when I thread, the seed beads don't go crazy. I'm going in. Oh, well. And then I want the needle to go over again. There we go. And I'm going to take my time. Try not to let that thread snag up. Just kind of using my hands best I can to keep control and keep those seed beads right in between the cord. And pull tight. So you're using these beads and the thread to start to bring this cord together. See how it's coming together? Okay, now we're going to do 1. I'm going to go under. Okay. the phone. I'm gonna get my one bead. Okay, set that in there. Come under. I'm just taking my time, keeping that bead in the middle. I'm holding this one down to keep it from getting away from me. Thread back through. Oop, I had it. And then over, and I'm gonna have to hold on to that bead. Grab it, and then hold that bead. Oh, feel that, see that cord just pulls nicely together? That's what we want. Yes. Perfect. Now I'm gonna show you, you're gonna go figure 8, same motion you've been doing, but no beads. You're gonna go under, oops. Let me get this bead out of the way. Under and over just a couple of times without beads. Figure 8 motion, and it's just gonna pull that cord a little bit tighter. This little piece keeps getting in the way. I'll trim it at the end. There we go, see? Under. And you might say to yourself, if you untaped the cord, this would be easier. No, it wouldn't, because the cord would be flailing and you wouldn't have this tight look. You'd lose control. Things would be chaos. Okay, you can do this as many times as you want. I'm gonna do one more. And this is just, see how it just kind of neatly brings that down? And it controls the angle of the cord. All right, now we're gonna have to finish off this cord, or the thread. Okay. So I'm gonna take my needle off, and we're gonna wanna tie it off. And then we're gonna add a little bit of our glue. So what I'm gonna do, oops, I'm hooked up here, hang on. I'm gonna come, I need one of these to go down and around like we've been doing, so that I can tie it around one cord. Right here on the side, just like that. See how it pulls it nice and tight? Don't break your thread. I'm pulling snug, but I'm not like pulling to where I break it. That's not the goal. You're gonna add some glue to this, so that will give you some stability. Give it a few good knots. Okay, leave your ends on. Let's get our glue out. You can do our thing that we've been doing, or on this one, I think I'm gonna do, I just don't wanna get glue on the clipboard. I'm gonna do a nice little dollop right there, and a little bit kind of right here. I want it to soak onto that leather a little bit, because it will attach to the leather. That kind of went out on that thread a little bit. I don't really want to keep the thread, I'll clip that. I'm gonna glue that down like, see if this will come down. This glue is not an immediate cure. It does take a little bit, so you're gonna have to be patient. Sorry, that's my dog. I think I'm gonna tape that down actually. I want it to stick down in that direction. I mean, not like you haven't been patient enough with the length of this project. A wrap bracelet is a commitment, especially the first time you do it. You know, you got to get used to it. So I'm going to tape that down so that this is kind of going in the direction, and I'll trim it right there. Okay. So I'm going to let my glue, this is sticking up a little bit. I'm going to manipulate my, there we go, seed beads just a little bit while this glue is still movable. There we go. Perfect. So I'm gonna let this sit and I will be back. I want this to dry for just a little bit before I move on to the next step, where we're gonna add on our button and tie our final knot. So I will be back. Okay, I am back. So this has had plenty of time to dry. It was just enough time for me to have a popcorn snack, so it didn't take too long. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through, and now is the time that you can trim all of your, sorry, I have to move the camera for just a second. Oh, almost lost you. So you're gonna trim all of your strings from before. Cut close down to the glue, but don't, you know, you're not trying to cut your threads off that you wrapped, so just be careful, err on the side of leaving it on versus cutting it off. Okay. All right, so here's what I've got. Let me back the camera out a little bit. So then all you're gonna do is you're gonna put your button clasp or button hook on. So you're gonna just, either side, doesn't really matter. You're gonna thread your button onto one side. Okay. And then you are going to do a double knot just like you did before. Okay, hey, that's me, sorry. I just, me trying to tie a knot and not knock the camera. Okay, so I've got a knot right up under that, and that's too close, because what you want to be able to do, you've got to get your loop around that. Okay, so that's better. So I'm going to pull this really tight. Just make sure that can go over it. Now, here's my advice. I haven't trimmed this yet. Now, you may not have done a perfect job of measuring, right? So don't trim that excess yet. What you can do is, if this is too short, you can put a knot here and move your button down, right? And I haven't even checked mine, so I'm gonna see. It's not the easiest thing to put on by yourself. I like to hold it with my fingers. Gonna wrap. Yeah, mine's gonna be a little short, I think. Let's see. Yep. Just a little. And the leather, maybe not. Let me see. The leather's gonna stretch a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna leave mine because I know that it's gonna, natural leather is gonna stretch a little bit. Look. It's gonna go on. Here we go. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna give myself, did you see me holding that? I'm gonna cut this further out. It's a little tight, but not too bad. But let me show you. I'll show you anyway what you can do just in case you need to give yourself some extra room. So let me undo this because that can happen. I want to say that's what happened on my other one because I've got a knot before the button. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put a knot first to give yourself some extra length on your bracelet. Right? So just a knot right at the end. Then you're going to slip your button on. Again, it doesn't really matter which cord you put it on, just put it on one. And then you'll do another knot. You don't want this too tight up against both of the knots. You want to have a little bit of room to play with your button there. That should, let me get, again, I think it's easier if you put this on it so that you know you can. See what I mean? I'm having a hard time. So let me pull this down a little bit. There we go. Oh, don't want to pull that too tight onto there. And then let me, that even might fit better on my own wrist. So again, I like to kind of hold it like that with my fingers. Wrap. And I'm letting the flatness of the beads lay flat. Okay. And then I'm gonna attach. And it will, like I said, it's gonna stretch. You know, the benefit of having that loop, that knot, yeah, it's just a little easier to put on. Having the knot first is if it stretches too much over time, I can remove that knot. Now I've got a little, see how much room I've got now? Before it was a little bit tight. Love it. And they're going to shift a little bit. Just flatten them down. Because now they're curving around your wrist. Right? And then you're going to trim off just that last little bit. I like to leave a little bit. You know, I think the look of the bracelet can hack a little bit of length, so leave some tails there on it. You can even see on my original, this thing has been through a bit. I've got these tails still on it. And there you go, your wrap bracelet. I don't recommend getting them wet, so when you're washing your hands, just be super careful. The threads and stuff like that. But remember, you have your thread and your needle. Don't lose your needle. Put those back in your container, one of your bags. Keep your seed beads just in case if somebody rips it off your arm or something like that. You now have the skills that you can fix it, you can put it back together, and you are good to go. I hope you love it. I know this is a real commitment to make, but I really do think you're going to enjoy it. And just know that these little seed square beads are going to shift a little bit, but as you can see, you just kind of, it's kind of like a little bit of a, you can kind of flatten them out yourself and enjoy playing with it and have a good time. I hope you love this kit.